Hey, party people. It is the long-awaited, often requested, Watch Me Design a Fashion Collection, Part 13. Yay! Okay, enough of that. Seriously, I know it's a long time coming. It's been several months since I had posted Part 12, and trust me, I have been wanting to make this video, okay? I had this adorable, cute thing called Design Block. Oh my god, it was really annoying. So this video will be devoted to Design Block. What is it? Some tips on how to get rid of it. Where I'm progressing with this project. Let's start with what I'm doing on the screen right now. I'm just flipping through the sketchbook development real quick on what I've been working on the previous parts of this series, just to kind of refresh you on the project. So the project was a seasonless, gender-neutral collection of mainly dresses and coats, and I wanted it to be for a slightly older customer, definitely like middle-aged and older. Of course, I'm always welcome to have younger people wear this collection, but the target is not teenagers or people in their 20s. I had decided that I wanted an eyelet lace, or maybe a regular lace, to work into the fabric board. And so I pulled all the lace headers that I have, and I'm just going through them. And I pulled a bunch of other fabrics, a few leathers, really beautiful print. I was running some errands the other day and this fabric store was having a sale. And so I got this really beautiful non-stretch denim for 50% off. Yay me. And I had some of the fabric from before, some yardage that I had bought before, so I can play around with some 3D development. And so I pulled all those so that I can try to get to my final fabric board in this video. Now I'm taking all those headers that I had pulled before, because now I have a direction. Like, these are the fabrics that I'm using right now. The 3 leathers. I have the suede, the distressed lambskin, and then the washed pink. And then I have the beautiful pink and fuchsia and green print on the linen. I have the gray linen. I have the denim. I have the weird black burlap that I'm oddly in love with and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. I have the white cotton duck as a nice bottom weight. And then I have my eyelet lace. I have my chantilly lace. And I'm going through some other things that I think would complement with it. One of the things that is important to my particular fabric story is making sure the blues work together. So when you're putting your fabric board together and you have several shades in one color, like you have a bunch of greens and a bunch of yellows, make sure that those colors work well together. Because, some people think pink and green is beautiful and some people don't. And that's going to be a matter of opinion. But if you have a bunch of greens together and they don't work, it's really like more jarring than a distinct color combination that you may or may not like. You know what I mean? And so I want to make sure that all the blues that I have in this group share an undertone, work well together. So that little ditzy print, the eyelet, the chantilly, and the denim, they all share an undertone. They're really solid blue, okay? It's like the tiniest bit on the purple side, but not purpley at all, not a blue violet, and not with any green undertones, okay? They're very like tints and shades and tones of true blue, okay? So make sure all those blues work together, those browns work together, those pinks work together to make a harmonious color story. Let me just say, I'm doing this voiceover in editing. I was on such a roll that I've already filmed part 14. Watch me design part 14. So this series is continuing. Don't you worry. I'm all in now. So design block, what is it? It is a designer's version of writer's block where, you're in the middle of a project, or maybe you haven't even started a project and you're just stuck. Just stuck. Can't move forward. It sucks. It's the opposite of fun. Yeah. So I want to talk about working through design block. And I know that some of you are like, well, Zoe, you could have just started with another project instead of just like waiting a bunch of months to film part 13. And yeah, this channel, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss. There is no one that says you have to stick to this design direction. However, that is not the case for most of you who are in school or working in the industry. Okay? And if you are not in school or in the industry, and you want to be a designer, you should be practicing like you're working. And when you're working, your design director is not going to all of a sudden be like, yeah, Zoe, do whatever you want because now you have design block. Okay, that does not happen. And your teacher, all schools are different, but most teachers will say, this is the design direction. You need to stick to it because that's the assignment. Or they'll say something like, you've already come this far. It's so ridiculous to start from scratch. You're not going to have that time indulgence when you're working in the industry. And yeah, I have had a few months, and normally in the industry, I would not have that time indulgence. And that's one of the perks of being on YouTube instead. Honestly, though, I am one of those people who work better on a deadline. And I've never had such a bad design block working in the industry. And I think part of it is because the pressure to hit the deadlines and to be good on deadline, I respond well to that. Not everyone does, but I do. So here I am. So I wanted to stick with this project. I wanted to figure out a way to push forward and shift direction because I hated everything I was doing. I mean, that's usually what happens with design block. It's like first you just hate everything that you're doing and then you get stuck. And I had gotten to that point where I hated everything that I was doing and didn't want to work on it anymore. So here are a few tips on how to work through your design block. Obviously, not everything is going to work for everyone's lifestyle, job, etc., but to help you get going, right? Number one, and these are in no particular order. These are just suggestions, okay? Number one, take a break. Step back. And when I say take a break, I'm not dictating a certain amount of time. That's just how it is. Go work on something else, okay? And it often helps to work on something that is like practically the opposite of what you were working on before, okay? That is a big part of the reason why I worked on that project where all the designs were inspired by football uniform padding. Okay, if you didn't watch that, I'll link to the playlist of that project where I just kind of spazzed out and started designing this super crazy, costumey, avant-garde insanity. I don't even know if you could call it clothes, really. Anyway, I did that. I had fun with it. I still need to finish painting the illustration. It's like 90% done, but I do need to finish the illustrations. Let me know in the comments if you actually want to see me wrap up that project, but whatever. So go work on something else. That really was like almost as opposite as you can get within still designing clothes as you could get. And I had a lot of fun with that project, and it was really nice to work on something so completely different because this project, it was very gender neutral. It was, trying to figure out the right silhouettes, the right bodies, the right colors. It was very specific. I was thinking about production and, techniques that were friendly for production and all this stuff. Whereas with the football thing, it was just like, oh, look, let's see how crazy I can get. Tip number 3, go look at stuff. Okay, that can be looking at pretty picture books or reading a good book, even if it means rereading a book that you loved. Okay? Go visit museums, and they can be fashion related or non-fashion related museum exhibits. I encourage both. Anyway, go to museums, travel, okay? Whether it's actually going on vacation or taking a day trip somewhere that, is your favorite thing, is like, the mountains a couple hours out of your city, something that kind of takes you out of your own head would be great in lieu of like an extended vacation. Go watch a movie. Have y'all seen Black Panther? That was off the hook. Oh my God, that was amazing. Anyway, go watch a movie that you're really into. It doesn't even have to be a movie where, people say that the visuals are so stunning. Like, those movies are great, but you could just watch a good movie and really roll with the emotions of that movie and let that kind of lift you out of the slump. Tip number 4, revisit the work in a different setting. Sometimes your office walls are the most uninspiring walls in the world, and that's the worst. That's the worst, okay? Yeah, sometimes you need to leave the house. My favorite thing is I will pack up a few things in a tote and go to a coffee shop. Sometimes I like to eat lunch like off hours, and when the restaurant is really slow and you don't feel bad about sitting there for a long time. And I will do a solo lunch at like 2, 3 in the afternoon and scribble and doodle and take notes. You don't have to stay there for like 3 hours, but just being there for an hour and hanging out can be relaxing and invigorating. I try to do that like a few times a month, actually. If you are in an office, do ask your boss if it would be okay if you took the afternoon to go work at a coffee shop or something across the street and I will be accessible, I'll take my cell phone, but I would love to just get out of the office for a few hours, okay? And yeah, we're such visual people, many of us designers, that just being in a different visual setting can put us in a different mood. And my last tip is work on a different part of the same project. If you had been stuck on the silhouettes and the shapes, maybe you need to revisit your fabric board, fine tune it, okay? Like I was doing in the beginning part of this video, where I had gone through all of my old headers that I had sort of sorted through before and edited out. And I had pulled different fabrics, off camera in preparation to shoot this video. And I've put together a brand new fabric board. But, switching from the 3D aspects to the 2D aspects, if you had been doing draping exercises to work with the 3D elements and you get stuck, maybe you go back to sketching for a while. And maybe print development or working on some graphics, or maybe you had planned on doing an embroidery, so start sketching ideas for an embroidery. Or if you get stuck with that, maybe start doing some stitch samples, or, study up on beading techniques, or, go back and forth, okay? Because fashion is worked on the 2D and 3D level back and forth. And so go work on a part of the same project that you're not currently working on. Another thing I like to do, which isn't necessarily, it is part of design block, kind of, okay, is I switched up the croquis figures that I was using, because I had focused this project on it being gender neutral. And usually, regardless of what customer I am working with, I tend to keep my initial design croquis, the figures, pretty straightforward, just like standing straight up and down, or I will design on a flats template. Okay, designing on a flats template is actually preferred in the industry, so I do that a lot too. Okay, I go back and forth depending on what I need. But for this time around, I decided to switch to different poses. And, I had been thinking about a lot about this idea of gender neutral clothing. There's that great Eddie Izzard quote. When someone asked him, "Why do you keep wearing women's clothes?" He said, "They're not women's clothes. They're my clothes. I paid for them." And it's so good. It's so good because, yeah, innately, clothing are inanimate objects, and they don't actually have a gender or a sex. They're just clothes. And if you can fit in them, then you can wear them. I mean, people wear clothes that don't fit them all the time, so why not? I know that's my pet peeve, is people not wearing clothes that fit them. So anyway, I was thinking, instead of trying to make it as neutral and in the middle of the road as possible, okay, I wanted to embrace things that were so stereotypically masculine and stereotypically feminine. Okay? And so with that in mind, I chose a couple of poses that are very stereotypically masculine, legs apart, shoulders back, kind of like confident, and a couple of poses that were stereotypically feminine. Little lilt to the hips or a swaying walk. Okay, that is, I fight against this so much because women can be however they want, men can be however they want, but I wanted to really work with those stereotypes by giving playing with these stereotypes, you know what I mean? And so what I'm doing in these sketches is sketching each outfit on a man, on a woman, or a male body and a female body, stereotype, and seeing how they look on different bodies. Okay, more straight up and down body, more curvy body. And in this video, after I shot this video, I was looking back at my design sketches and I drew them so that all the outfits fit the model. But I think I'm actually going to go back and redraw some so that it looks like both the male and the female are wearing the same size garment. And what would it look like, the same size garment on a smaller body? Okay. Because I am playing with these drawstrings and playing with the idea of adjusting the fit and shape of certain garments, playing with these drawstrings. So there is an aspect of that in the design, so I do want to play with that. So as you can see, I am playing with shapes and fabrics that people may think are more feminine, but I am trying to push the proverbial envelope with this collection. So I'm gonna go for it. I'm playing right now. I have a renewed energy towards this project, and I have my final fabric story. I can play with shapes. When I'm designing, I like to design shapes on a figure so that I can work out how the proportions work on a body, how fabric moves in a walking pose, things like that. That's why I love designing on walking poses. So I'm kind of analyzing how the fabric will move while a person is walking, and that really affects the drape and the feel of the garment, right? But later on, when we get to designing the nitty-gritty of every pocket placement and top stitching and all the precious smaller design details, I like to do that on a flat. And it's important to design on the flat because it will help you figure out hanger appeal. Okay, hanger appeal is so important. Okay? And we'll get more into that in a future video when I start flatting these designs. But keep that in mind. If I forget, remind me. I'm happy to be back in the game. I'm so happy to continue this series. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today, if you enjoyed this video, if you are enjoying this series and want me to continue this series, please give this video a thumbs up. Please let me know in the comments what you think, and share, subscribe, drop me all your questions. Don't forget to check the description box for links to all my social media and links to related videos and other information. And I will see you in the next video.